G'day, welcome back to the Drone News, a series of videos when I try and bring you all the latest happenings in the world of drones, model aircraft regulation, and incidents that have occurred in the airspace over our heads. And leading today's drone news, well, there's been another collision between a drone and a manned aircraft. We don't like to hear about these things, but they do happen from time to time, and this actually is quite a good one, I've got to say. Now, first of all, let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to, when was this? June 17th, 2020. So we're looking about a year ago, just over a year ago, in Canada. Royal Canadian Mounted Police helicopter crashed into a Royal Canadian Mounted Police drone. Or the other way around, whichever way you look at it. But there was a collision between a drone and a helicopter, both of which were operated by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Canada. And apparently the damage caused was nearly $200,000. It was caused apparently because of a confusion in altitude. I think one of them was operating in metric and one was operating in imperial, and they just got confused and banged into each other. Simple operational parameters. I mean, it caused the crash of a probe to Mars at one stage when there was a confusion between the base units for measuring distances and things. So it could happen to anyone, couldn't it? But you'd think that the police would have a higher duty of responsibility in terms of getting things right. And they say here the cost of removing the helicopter from where it landed, because it didn't crash. It was only made an emergency precautionary landing after the collision. Transporting it to a local airport and repairing it was about $120,000, and the drone itself was $75,000. So this was not a Mavic Mini. We're talking about a large commercial industrial type drone. So if a drone of that size can crash into a helicopter and nobody dies, and is there maybe 120 Ks worth of repairs, but it still shows helicopters, drones, yeah, they can collide, but there's still no fatalities. And this wasn't a recreational multi-rotor drone, it was a commercial one. There's still no fatalities. It says 3 people aboard the helicopter. No. Who writes this stuff? Now, I've got to say, I'm going to interrupt this news here because breaking news, the news media is crap. The mainstream media, I don't know what's happened to it. A little bit of background. About 1997, I was quite involved in the news industry. I was running an online news service called 7am News. It was at one stage the world's most widely syndicated web-based news service. And I was the manager, I was the editor, and I was one of the major content creators because, one-man band to start with. It later grew much bigger, but I adopted the principles of the Fourth Estate for accuracy and the ethics and so forth. And one of the key things was making sure that you understood the language you were writing your stuff in. But I see the media these days, they don't even proofread stuff. So you have some little intern who's getting paid nothing, takes a press release and puts a byline on it, throws it up on the internet, and that's the end of it. Now, this is a great example. To read this, 3 people were aboard the helicopter. No was injured in the collision. No what? No one? No person? No animals? No hamsters? No little ponies? Nobody proofread this. This is terrible. This is supposed to be, who's the news organization? Does it say? Global News. I guess that's, yeah, maybe that, I don't know. Are they tabloid? Who knows? Anyway, but these are the facts. The RCMP flew their drone into the helicopter, and it cost a lot of money because someone was not properly trained or wasn't paying attention or something. And it wasn't recreational. These are the professionals. These are the professional drone flyers having this problem. So let's go back to that thing I first started with. Aviation Safety Network, Flight Safety Foundation. Let's read the narrative. It says, during operations in support of police activity, approximately 1.5 nautical miles northwest of Toronto Buttonville Airport, which is CYKZ, Ontario, a DJI Matrice 210 RPAS, again, another larger commercial industrial drone, operated by, wouldn't you know it, the York Regional Police, collided with a Cessna 172 operated by Canadian Flyers International, which was on final approach to runway 15 with a student and instructor on board. So again, in the period of just over 12 months, now there's been 2 collisions of police-operated drones with manned aircraft in Canada. How many instances of recreationally flown drones colliding with manned aircraft have there been in Canada ever? I think I can only actually recall one. And there was a scuff on the paintwork. There wasn't $120,000 worth of damage or $200,000 worth of damage in that one. Yeah, I think now Canada's an interesting country because they started off with some absolutely draconian drone rules. You couldn't fly a drone in the same country as any of their airports. It was like terrible. And then they backed off a bit. And now they have some quite stringent requirements if you want to fly commercially. You've got to sit exams and prove competence and all that sort of stuff. It's almost like a pilot's exam to fly a drone commercially. Obviously, however, the training just isn't good enough. Or the police wouldn't keep crashing these things into manned aircraft and, to be honest, endangering human life in a way that recreational flyers just are not doing. And the other good thing about the Canadian rules, which I'll be covering in an upcoming video, is that they've got this, they've carved out a space for the hobby and for young people. If you are flying a craft that's less than 250 grams, there are no prescriptive rules. They realise these things are not dangerous. I mean, hell, if you can crash an industrial drone into a large turbine helicopter and nobody's injured, the risk of damaging something or injuring someone with a sub 250 gram craft is so small, you don't need prescriptive rules. They don't need to tell you how exactly what you can't do. They make a simple declaration: do not endanger people, do not endanger property. That's it. And if you're under 250 grams, you're good to go. And despite that freedom, despite the ability for recreational flyers to make a decision as to is this safe or not, nobody has been injured, nobody has been killed, no property has been damaged by giving the sub-250 flyers this level of freedom in Canada. The rest of the world should learn from that with their regulations. Instead of it coming out with increasingly draconian rules such as remote ID and all this sort of crap, just learn from Canada's experience. If you give people the responsibility and you let them use craft that have a very low risk, you're good to go. Don't be bullies, don't be over-regulating, don't have regulatory overreach. Canada's got it right with the sub-250. Everybody else really needs to learn from that. So that's it. There we go. Canadian police try and knock aircraft out of the sky again. But let's have a look. What would happen if a drone hit a helicopter? We've seen instances where that's happened and nobody's died, no one's been injured. This is an interesting comparison. Here is an air ambulance in, where is this? In Canada, is it? No, it's in the UK. It's in the UK, in Nottinghamshire. Lord of the Rings, who knows? But an air ambulance was forced to make emergency landing after a bird hits the windscreen. And, well, it doesn't have a windscreen anymore. They use a kind of a acrylic plexiglass here, and it does shatter quite easily. It's very thin on helicopters because they need to keep the weight down. Apparently what happened was an air ambulance was left shattered with a shattered windshield and damaged rotor blade after a bird hit the helicopter. So a bird flew along into the windscreen, bang, and apparently what happened was bits of the windscreen flew up and hit the rotor blade, causing rotor damage. But I'm a little bit confused here because this is the trailing edge of the rotor blade. You can tell that because of how thin it is here. It's a trailing edge of the rotor blade. How on earth did the trailing edge, the retreating edge of the blade get damaged? I don't understand. That's moving away from anything coming its way. But who knows? I don't know. Not me. Anyway, it says an air ambulance on its way back to base was... Oh, God, protect me. What did I say before about the quality of journalism and use of the language? Look, let me read this verbatim. An air ambulance on its way back to base was forced the crew to undertake an emergency landing after a bird which flew into it. Oh, I can't believe it. Talk about making the point for me. Whoever wrote this is illiterate. They're illiterate. They've not been to school. Maybe English is not their first language. Who wrote it? Corey Bedford and Peter Hennessy. My goodness. How old are you girls? I can't believe that. I'm going to read it again. That beggars belief. An air ambulance on its way back to base was forced the crew to undertake an emergency landing after a bird which flew into it. Oh, that's gold. That's total gold. This just the things I was saying about the modern media and their lack of standards, the lack of proofreading, taking interns and getting them to just throw bylines on press release. This iconifies that. It's just the perfect example. Unbelievably bad. Never mind. Let's move on. That's terrible. Leicestershire, I should have used this report, shouldn't I, instead of this, I don't know, hacked up one here, which is absolutely terrible. So the bird apparently weighed 1.32 kilograms, slightly more than a bottle of water. No, it's not slightly more than a litre bottle of water. Water weighs 1 kilogram per litre, so it's like 32% more than. Anyway, facts are not irrelevant here. I only came for the pictures, to be totally honest. Look at that. Smashed windscreen, damaged rotor blade. But we can't believe a thing in this thing because they can't even speak English. I'm going to go to that other thing. I should have checked this other one before. What does this say? Or is this just the front of the Leicestershire Live website? Who knows? It's going to load up. Oh, yeah, this is much better. Oh, look at that. Those other people just stole that story. Okay, let's accept the cookies. It's UK. You've got to have all this cookie stuff. It's crazy. The air ambulance had to make an emergency landing after the pilot tried to avoid the bird. Get out of my face. Never allow. Look at this massive ad up here. I don't want that. Can I get rid of it? Will it go away? Oh, no, because I've got full screen and it doesn't want it. Oh, anyway, let's have a look. A bird which flew into an air ambulance on its way back to base forced the crew to land after smashing the windshield, hitting a member of the crew and damaging the rotor blade. This is no better. This is no better. A bird which flew into an air ambulance on its way back to base forced the crew to land after smashing the... So the crew had to land after they smashed the windscreen. God, this English language. What? This is a comedy video and I didn't even intend to make it one. It's like terribly... The meaning is completely misconstrued here. The crew didn't smash the windshield, as they seem to allude to here. Anyway, what does it say? The windshield of the helicopter used by the Derbyshire, Leicestershire and Rutland Air Ambulance shattered into multiple pieces. So these people only used the windshield. Derbyshire, Leicestershire and Rutland Air Ambulance only used the windshield of the helicopter. Oh, no. And anyway, here's a better picture. Look, as I mentioned, this is the trailing edge of the rotor blade. There's the leading edge there. You can see how it gets worn down by particulates in the air, causes a slight abrasiveness. So how the hell did that windshield cause that damage to the rotor? It can happen. Strange things happen in turbulent airflows, but I'm quite surprised that the rear of the rotor, which is moving away from anything that's moving out of the windshield area, it's always moving away. Or if it was advancing, it would hit the leading edge. How did this happen? I don't know. Crazy stuff. Anyway, there we go. So yeah, it caused a fair bit of damage, didn't it? Anything else? No, nothing else to see here. So there you go. And if that was a drone, my goodness, it'd be all over the world's media, but it was just a bird. And this sort of thing happens. We accept this as a risk of flying, but we can't accept even if this pilot had seen a drone. If this pilot had seen a drone that was 100 feet away or 100 meters away, it would have been headline news all over the world. But a bird flies into there, smashes the windscreen, damages the rotor blade, gets a mention in a couple of news websites where they don't even know English. It's terrible. I'm enjoying this kind of video. This is fantastic. Anyway, let's go something else to look at. I want to look at the CAA UK website. Here we go. This is the CAA UK website. And this is about the UK-EU transition. And I think this is something to do with transitioning from the EU laws to UK laws or something. Anyway, some temporary rule changes and things. And in here, they've got a list of all the things that are happening. And this one stuck out and struck me immediately because it is small unmanned aircraft registration and remote pilot competency requirements for control line model aircraft flights. Seriously? I can understand it. We've got all these rules and regulations and competency tests and registration required for drones and radio control models. But for control line? Seriously? So I thought, what are the rules in the UK for control line? I went over to the BMFA website, and in the UK, as far as I understand it, there's a whole lot of rules that basically say you can't do anything with a model aircraft. But there is a Article 16, I think it is. It's called, Article 16, which really provides authorization for particular hobby groups to do things that are otherwise not allowed in the rules. So it's like an exemption. And those groups include things like the BMFA and FPV UK. These organisations have carved out some special privileges, some special exemptions from the rules to let people fly model aircraft, basically. And one area is what they call physically constrained unmanned aircraft, which is something called round the pole or control line. It's where the aircraft is tethered to a central point and flies in a circle. And I thought, well, what are the rules? So here we go. The exemption from the thing that says you can't do a damn thing is for control line round the poles. It says control line / round the pole model aircraft are exempted from all the requirements of the EU regulations, including operator registration and remote pilot competency, provided that the line length isn't over 25 meters, the maximum takeoff mass is less than 1 kg, and the aircraft is not capable of vertical takeoff, landing, hovering. I've never seen a control line multi-rotor. Maybe there's an idea for a project, or a control line helicopter. Hey, so why did they even include this? I mean, seriously, these aren't a thing. I tell a lie. I did see a 3D control line model. If I can find the footage, I'll put it up, but I probably won't be able to. A control line model aircraft with a third wire for throttle that would hover. You could hover it. Fantastic. That would not qualify for this exemption. God knows why. There's no difference in the risk profile. Anyway, so what this says is at the moment in the UK, if your control line model or round-the-pole model weighs less than a kilo and the line length is no more than 25 meters, you don't have to register and you don't have to have a remote pilot competency certification. Okay, which is as it should be. I mean, why would you have to register when you're just hurling something around on a string? It makes no sense to me. But let's go back to that CAA page. And it says that they're reviewing the issue of small unmanned aircraft registration remote pilot competency requirements. So since there currently is no requirement, are they going to add that? Are they saying, well, we're going to change the rules? And we've already done a consultation here, apparently consultation already complete as per opinion and instruction document, which I could find no trace of. And this is going to be implemented. Stage 3 changes required plan for October 21st statutory instrument, which means basically a regulation. So something's going to happen. And since there is not at the moment a requirement for registration or competency, the only thing I can assume is that they're going to introduce this. So you will have to register if you want to fly your sub 1 kilogram control line model. You're going to have to register and do a competency test before you'll be legally allowed to fly your control line model. Seriously, what the hell are they smoking in the UK? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is somehow I've misinterpreted this. So if someone knows, if there's someone out there watching this video, and I'm sure someone must be watching it, I'm not talking to nobody. If you're aware of what's actually happened here, can you fill us in? Can you go to the comments, leave a comment, I'll pin it, stick it at the top. So if you're looking at this video later on, check the comments. There may be a pinned comment with some clarification on this. But if it is as it seems, I'm left scratching my head, wondering what the hell's going on. Anyway, that's it. Simple. I think that's all I had for today. Thank you very much. Yes, it is. So just another edition of the drone/RC model news, where I try to keep you entertained and also provide you with information so you can fly safely and responsibly in this increasingly difficult world where you can't even blow your nose without a permit, a license, and a qualification. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks to my Patreon supporters. It's thanks to your support that I'm able to make these videos. And I'll spot you later. Bye for now.